Right. I want us to have a conversation on World Smart Cities and what does that mean for you. And in studio, I'm joined by Jaiwan Peter Chun. He's the president of World Smart Cities. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Right.
Actually, trying to speak in Swahili just a little bit.
Which word do you know?
Habari zenu.
Oh, mzuri.
Fugai kupika Kenya.
I like that. I like that. Thank you. I mean, just to start the conversation, I don't think a lot of people understand what World Smart City or a smart city actually means and entails. Could you just start by defining that for us?
Well, actually, that's a really good question because a smart city has been not really a long-term definition for a while. The thing is, a lot of countries, and they actually focusing on building their own cities, something fancier, or in terms of the technologies and solutions, or ITs and something. So there might be a lot of various definitions and based on concerning the smart city. I think that there will be some different types of a smart city concept. And for example, in Asian countries, and they focusing on top-down initiatives, they building the satellite cities, basically historically stem from 1980s and 1990s because they trying to balancing the centers, the capital cities or metropolitan cities, something, having the better impact on the countryside. So it's about the satellite city, but most of the people getting, having a job in the center city of metropolitan city, they also have, houses, affordable houses, or maybe cost-efficient houses outside of the, metro. So that was kind of the first, the definition of small cities. But in terms of the European perspective, and they much more focusing on how they can, make livable cities, or they can just think about maybe better, greener. So European perspectives is much more about urban regeneration, and developing countries or Asian or Middle East, they're focusing on building new entire, new cities, basically. So we're trying to define this smart city, but the thing is, the smart city is not a kind of a product. You cannot define, okay, we can build the city until maybe within 5 years, and then it's not a product because just like a human being, cities can be described as kind of organs, which is also, it can be evolved naturally based on what kind of the group of people they live in the city. So it should be, defined as something, city needs, the people living in the city demands some specific agenda or goals or subjects. As an example, about 30 years ago in Amsterdam, in Netherlands, the people's major concern was trying to get rid of the cars running around the center city because most of the vehicles, they produce a lot of pollutants at the same time it's noisy. So they didn't like it. So instead of it, they trying to bring some sort of the other alternative options, which is about shareable bike systems. So bike roads, bike system, even the kind of control systems of the shareable bikes. So it was really fascinating. But those generations back in 1990s now is different generations. They actually retired from work, and now new generations, and the 20s, 30s is basically, they were babies back then. Their major concern is maybe housing, because a lot of the aspects of the cities is really difficult to live with because you have issues with your jobs and proximity between your home and also the workplace, and also the skyrocketing market prices, and many different reasons. So if you maybe happen to go to Netherlands, I think there will be a lot of projects building up, floating housing, which is a lot cheaper, and also it reduced. You don't have to take, a lot, the trams or the buses and taxi to go to work. So that is another agenda for the new generation. Just like what I just said.
Yeah.
The demands from the citizens or residents always different. So basically, the smart city meaning for us as a smart city, World Smart Cities Forum, is kind of a process how to deal with the problems that city originally or naturally has. The methodology of the dealing with this kind of problems, basically from even technologies, but mostly governance systems or maybe activities, which is also described as the citizen inclusiveness or including citizens' activities, how the governance system can, motivate the citizens can be something different way.
Right, we'll get to the technology bit in just a bit, but I just want to understand, for instance, like in Africa, is there any country that has adopted this system, and what are some of the demands that they would have when it comes to smart cities?
Well, as I understand, because this is my first time to be here in Africa in my life.
Right.
But,
so Kenya is the first country?
First country.
Okay.
First country, and also I was, told Kenya is, high potential in representing African reason. I think I was focusing on Eastern Africa because there are so many different reasons. Because I was told that there was a kind of community, East Africa community, with 7 countries.
Right.
That was some kind of mass market as well, even though it's kind of far from comparing to some of the advanced countries in Europe or maybe Far East Asia. Even there might be some kind of competitions like Southeast Asia. They're still trying to grow. But the thing is, location-wise, I think that this Eastern Africa is an amazing spot. And also in terms of many different, the angles to compare with other regions around the world, I think I definitely believe that there's a huge potential. You can maybe approach many different ways in Africa because we do believe that Africa is a continent with kind of the final hope of entire mankind, not only for the African people. I see that the East Africa communities, probably maybe almost 400 million population. If you maybe just extend more adjacent countries together, it could be maybe 50% of entire Africa. So this is kind of massive reason. And also I see that kind of mentality of the people living in. So because, whenever you're just talking about smart city, it's not about IT. There was a kind of mistaken in Asia, for example, because everything was top-down initiatives. And they believe that we just bring some of the ITs, which is like technologies. But the thing is, technology is really fast changing all the time. Just like as an example, like iPhone was introduced only 15 years ago, maybe 16 years ago, because Steve Jobs introduced the first iPhone was back in 2008. So you can see that you never expect what kind of new technology will be maybe popped up in our lives, just like ChatGPT kind of thing. So I think that is kind of supporting function. The main stakeholder of the city is definitely about the people. And I think that the best policy to drive the better smart city is, the policy can help the, activities of the people or maybe other stakeholders like, the local startups, local SMEs, local big giant, the enterprises, and even the government, and even maybe tourists. Because smart city is not only for the citizens there. And another examples in showing that one of the cities in France, maybe as an example, maybe let's talk about Nice.
Right.
The population is only, I believe there's no more than 300,000 people there. But annual visitors into Nice is more than 5 million people, definitely. So it's about the kind of strategy from the government or maybe stakeholders of the city. I do believe that African smart city can go greenfield or brownfield or maybe assembled model. Because there's one thing that other continents, other countries don't have, just like here in East Africa, because you have, the wildlife sanctuary and massive, vast savanna, and basically the people and wildlife they actually coexist here.
Yes.
And I think a lot of international organizations are talking about the climate change and also the net zero. The thing is, you know, maybe people living in Asia or maybe Europe, they probably don't have full 100% understanding. But here is the kind of the urban test bed. Maybe the government stakeholder of city can try it.
Right, I just want to ask, because you mentioned climate change, how do smart cities then address when, things like sustainability and environmental concerns around the world, even here in Africa?
I think that it's the most important mission for the smart city is make a city much more sustainable, right? So maybe sustainability doesn't mean anything like difficult. Most important thing is about you have to make the city much more independent in producing their own, you know, economy. So you have to be constantly grow. But a conventional way of thinking about the smart city, you have to just, invite one big giant companies. For example, let's just have the Microsoft headquarters here in our city. Then it actually naturally has a lot of, the job creation or something. But what if Microsoft, okay, we don't like Kenya, we just like leave tomorrow? Right. What's going to happen? This is really happened in China and also maybe some part of Vietnam. So that's a kind of the paradox for the developing countries or developing cities. If you're taking a look at the kind of long-term shot or kind of bring the real true values for the citizens or maybe local stakeholders of the cities, you have to be really smart and strategic to designing the master plan. So the sustainability, also resilience, and also you need to think about what kind of the driving force to the city is much more better. So I think that there are a lot of different kind of the things that you can think about the smart city in your local cities. The sustainability is kind of the process how you can define the city. Not just like a clean city, not just like green city, right? So even green economy, like economy or you invite a lot of startups, SMEs in your platform, which is they don't produce any kind of pollutants, which is about intellectual property-based technologies, or maybe some kind of idea-driven, idea-oriented, new kind of the future-driven technologies. So you can think about many different, the dimensions.
Right, let's talk about inclusivity. Does smart cities ensure that there's any form of inclusivity or accessibility, even with people who are not in the urban setting or they're in lower income areas? Does it actually ensure there's any type of inclusivity? So
if I just maybe understand what your question is better, I think that exclusivity mentioned, right?
Yes, inclusivity.
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 Yeah. Okay, so the thing is, it's not easy task for the government. The thing is, most of the cases of the smart city project in the Middle East and Asia, even the United States, it's all about the the urban development or just building up kind of big shopping malls and residential houses. And so this is the city, of course. Everything is about this kind of city is about focusing on the consumption. And but consumption is, maybe as you are the customers, the only thing they can just track down your, data or something is about your consumption, behavior, like a customer behavior or maybe client's behavior. So that will be kind of massive data collected by the local, shopping malls or maybe some of the merchants. I think there should be something more. For example, here in Kenya, Nairobi, I was in Mombasa yesterday. Yeah. So Mombasa is actually facing the Indian Sea, which is like a lot better than other cities because they have the sea. I mean, that is another opportunities to utilize the resources. So you need to define what kind of resources does your city has. Then based on the resources, you can redefine what kind of activities you can give a specific missions to the entire community. Because you cannot just give them kind of assignments or homework. Everything should be voluntarily done and that you need to have kind of your own test beds, which is kind of stadium. Then people can easily, they motivate themselves and to bring their resources and data into it. So, yeah.
You've talked about technology a lot, but let's just focus on that for a bit. How do smart cities utilize technology to just improve urban infrastructure and services around?
So, for example, construction. Let's just give us a simple example. Construction used to be like, the bricks, or maybe some, skeleton of the steels, and some companies that just bring some of the cement in it. But the thing is, right now, the smartness in new type of this construction, trying to reduce the error, the thing, and also optimizing buildings, or smart building, which is actually reduce a lot of energies, or maybe reduce some kind of, something, should not be used, maybe wasted. So it's kind of a lot of different, the trials have been actually tested out in the last 10 years. One of them is actually digital twin. So it's kind of the 3D models, and also it's kind of data collected models, and everybody can jump in to participate in drawing something. They can actually just input their own experience. So probably maybe 1,000 or tens of thousands times of kind of trial. So you can actually minimize the kind of potential error or maybe mistake. So after everything is done, then the building can be constructed, or the block of the city lines can be constructed, just like maybe road systems or highway systems. Even there are a lot of the kind of trials that the speed of the construction. Now, the total outcome of the every floors is actually built already in the assembly. So it's only just like assemble the floors. So it can reduce maybe more than 50% of the time, which is maybe you can save a lot of money, and also maximize the satisfactions of the tenants or something like that. Yeah.
Actually, it's pretty intriguing hearing you talk about it. But are there challenges that you've seen when it comes to, or any barriers when it comes to implementing smart cities?
The biggest barrier is, of course, because the smart cities not belong to the government. Smart cities not belong to the private sectors. So it should be kind of harmonized between the three factors. I think as the individual citizen and the government with the new government systems, and also the private sectors like technology companies or maybe some infrastructure investors. So it should be harmonized. But I think that the biggest role is, of course, the government, right? So government set up their own policies and they approve something. So they should be kind of the platform that these kind of three major stakeholders can work, the maximizing optimizations of the building of the smart city. That is the kind of biggest problems and also necessary.
What are you hoping to achieve here in Kenya?
Kenya, I do believe that I'm still trying to learn. Here, a lot of potential, but I do prioritize some kind of human resources in Kenya. Let's talk about Kenya, because I've never been to other countries yet.
Right.
But Kenya has a lot of potential, many different things. I can't just tell you there are many different upsides, maybe small downsides, but I do believe it will be better if we try to make the city much more innovative spaces, which is kind of maybe Kenyans' brain place with a new tech and for new generations. I think that the Kenyans' population is almost 53 million people. I think that a lot younger people, they're occupying the majority group of the today's population, which has a lot of the brightness for the future economy for Kenya. So you can be sucking up all kind of the smartness and smart tech into Kenya. So this could be maybe changeable engine for the new economy, or maybe new industrial park. Industry park doesn't mean anything about the second, industry revolution or third.
Right.
It's all about kind of the property, kind of knowledge industries, because everything is kind of digitalized these days. I'm not quite sure about the usage of a credit card or the cash. I think that maybe a digital transactions is maybe increasing more. I think that is one part, and also a lot of activities based on maybe sports, tourism can be maybe utilized based on the kind of digital economy. So I think that we are maybe boosting up kind of digital economy model here in Kenya. Kenya can take the significant role representing East Africa community as a kind of first start. In the end, and probably it can have huge impact on entire Africa. So that, based on that, I was discussing with Governor Mombasa and also Konza, Technopolis, and kind of new the government-led smart city in the just close to Nairobi. I think that this is kind of good harmonizing trial. So we can bring some kind of more resources with the human resources with the tech or digital economy into the city like Nairobi and Mombasa. At the same time, we can just display something futuristic so that the people, they can work, they can contribute their talents into new smart city like a Konza. And also it's not a platform for only for local Kenyan young people. We can actually introduce more than 50% of the international, probably maybe majority group from Africa, but we also open the doors for Europe, American continents, and Asia, because they all believe that there should be a big potential market in Africa. So they want to be proving their solutions and technologies better than others. So.
Right. I want to know though, are you creating any form of awareness, especially with the local communities? I know you've just come in, but are you trying to reach out to people in the communities to come and understand what World Smart Cities is? Are there any initiatives like that?
Yeah, so that is something should be discussed with also the leadership in the Nairobi or Mombasa. Because you can also think about, if you're building one side of a smart city doesn't mean anything about the entire city. Physically it's almost impossible. So you should be wise as a maybe leadership of the cities or maybe government. You need to define some specific area first. Then you can grow, you can expand the model, but all different types of the subjects. And the people outside, like the countryside, not really countryside, some of the suburbs of the cities they live in, and they are probably looking at some kind of the better mobility systems and public transportation systems. Because as I said, the proximity between your working place and house, it should be really minimized. Right. I know it will be difficult for developing countries, developing cities, because it will be cost. There's a lot of cost actually just input there. So I think that will be something that the Kenyan government can utilize some of the funds. There are a lot of different kind of funds. Funds focusing on ESGs and SDGs, and a lot of the kind of collaborative funds from many different Western countries. And they also need to devote themselves into the helping or maybe assisting and maybe collaborating models. So recently we launched the Twin Cities initiatives because I was involved in many different smart cities around the world. And we are now organizing 21 metropolitan cities based inter-city collaboration model as a one single mega projects. And the reason why I'm here in Africa, because there's no African cities yet in our portfolio. So this is something that I'm trying to learn about in Africa, East Africa community and Kenyan cities. So far, I do believe that there will be huge potential and also the outcomes. So that is something kind of discussions with the Prime Minister and the Governor of Mombasa, and CEO of Konza. So we are actually ready to invite them into the mainstream of these Twin Cities initiatives, and this way they can have a better access to the fund, and even we can actually build something kind of rail systems, kind of high-speed trains, and the people outside of the cities can be benefited to just back and forth. And also the previous smart cities working with the government, the central government or municipalities, they have a lot of mistakes. My jobs here in Africa or in Kenya, they're minimizing the kind of mistakes that other cities they already did. So this is kind of good strategy, and maybe saving a lot of time and resources.
Right. I hope the next time you come to Kenya, then we'll have that conversation and see the outcome of it. Right. Thank you so much. That is Jayawan Peter Chun. He's the president of World Smart Cities Forum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Right. That's a wrap for this interview.